take questions.
Sure. Well, I almost did it, but then I thought twice and probably made a good decision. I almost wore a vest today. So I was getting my stuff together to bring over here to change into after practice, and I thought the weather's starting to change a little bit, get a little cooler. Looking at my gear, and there's this good-looking vest with, buffalo on it, and I said, "Don't go there. You're not a vest guy. A man's got to know his limitations. So don't cross that line." And thought better about it and just went with the standard pullover because, it's a slippery slope. You start with a vest, and then the next thing you know, I'm showing up here with a T-shirt on that's 2 sizes too small or something like that, and I just would not want to subject you people to that. So here I am with my pullover, and it is a fine fall day, but it's supposed to be like 67 degrees and sunny or something on Saturday for homecoming. So that's awesome, and certainly appreciate all the great weather we've had. Good win over Toledo. Started fast, seized the momentum. We knew that was critical going in. We knew they were outscoring opponents by lopsided margins in the first quarter and the first half of games. We knew there'd be plenty of adversity, which there was. Thought we handled that pretty well, and overall executed at a pretty high level in all 3 phases throughout the course of the game. Anytime you run the ball for 230, hold your opponent to under 50 rushing, it's probably going to be a pretty good day. So we were 5 or 6 plays away from a really, really dominant defensive performance. I thought the defense played extremely well, and our ability to stay on the field a little bit more offensively, get some chunk plays on the ground and in the air was critical. Pretty solid day on special teams as well. We were able to flip the field position, and if you can make teams go 85, 90 yards against our defense, we're going to have a chance to get some stops, and that's exactly what we did. I thought our spread punt formations and some of our shifts and motions on punt were very, very effective, keeping Toledo a little uncomfortable and maybe causing some consternation for them from a punt return standpoint. I like that word. I like that word, consternation. If somewhere along the way, if somebody says he was a coach that caused consternation for other people, I would be pretty happy about that, I think. So that we might need to incorporate that word somewhere in an article somewhere. That'd be good. But good day's work for the guys, and but you're never out of the woods, right? You're never out of the woods, and we've got a lot of work to do. We enjoyed it Saturday night into Sunday morning, and we got in here Sunday afternoon and moved on to the next challenge. Western Michigan's a really good team. It's amazing how these things go with scheduling and so forth, because certainly not the team I would have picked for homecoming, but a lot of times you just don't have a choice with these things where home games fall and the right time of year, and we're just coming off fall break where we had a home game, but I can think about 50 other teams I'd rather play besides these guys this coming weekend. They've played a really, really tough schedule so far, and they've handled themselves very well against it. Arguably the toughest schedule anybody's played in the MAC. They've had some very close games against Wisconsin and Marshall that they had a chance to win. They're off to a great start in the conference, 2-0 in the conference, won 2 shootouts. So they've dealt with some adversity. They had a long lightning delay last week and found a way to come out of that and win the game against Akron. And they've been able to play really consistent football when you look at first quarter through the end of the game, and even the Akron game, they fell behind a little bit early and then just had an explosive second quarter where they scored 24 points. So they've proven that they can play 60 minutes. Very balanced offense. They're almost identical in yardage, run to pass. But in their last 3 games, Marshall, Ball State, Akron, they've rushed it for 192, 197, and 196, which is impressive to do that against anybody, but to do it 3 weeks in a row Their top tailback, Nixon, is averaging almost 100 yards per game, but they've got 3 really good tailbacks, and they roll all of those guys through there. Their quarterback, number 11, Hayden Wolf, he's completing 70% of his passes. He's a really, really good decision maker. He's very poised in the pocket, does a great job stepping up and keeping his eyes down the field. He's only thrown 2 interceptions all season, and both of those were not like bad decisions by him by any means. So this guy's a challenging quarterback in that he can complete the deep balls, but he's very good with the shorter and the intermediate throws as well. A good receiving core, Anthony Sambucci, fellow Paisan, versatile player for them, and leading them in receptions and plays on special teams for them as well. And then this guy Womack, number 9, is a very, very explosive receiver. Doesn't quite have as much productivity in terms of catches, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he's very, very dangerous. I love their O-line. I really, really like the way these guys play. As a former O-line coach, that's one of the first things I do when I turn on the film. I don't know their O-line coach, but I'm familiar with him and his background. A guy named Trevor Mendelson does a great job with these guys. He coached at Wake Forest and Richmond and also at Notre Dame, so he's been around some really, really good people that I'm sure have greatly influenced his coaching style and his ability to lead that group. And they're just very cohesive. They do a great job with their combo blocks. They're just very, very sound fundamentally what they're doing on the offensive line. They've got a 73. Their right tackle's a Staten Island guy too, Cushy, if I'm pronouncing that right. I need a pronunciation guide, but Staten Island guy. So I hope I get a chance to say hello to him before the game and find out what his favorite pizza and bagel places are back on the island. Walt Bell, the OC at Western Michigan, is a guy that we enlisted on the same day at Maryland. We showed up the same day within about half hour of each other, and met for the first time there, and had offices next to each other and worked side by side with each other for 2 years. And so we did 2 tours of duty together, and Walt's a good guy doing a nice job with their offense. They get into a lot of 12 personnel. Very similar to Missouri in a lot of ways. A lot of 12 personnel, do a great job with inside zone and mid zone and the play action passes. And then they'll get into some heavier personnel groupings where they'll bring in an additional offensive lineman or multiple tight ends, run a lot of stuff out of the pistol and get into some wing sets. So very challenging offense. Very diverse offense. Over on the defensive side of the ball, they're a base 4 down, but they're very multiple. They'll get into some 3 down and even some 5 down looking stuff. They're a 1 high safety team, but they'll play some 2 high as well. Bring a lot of pressure. It seems like in recent weeks they're perhaps bringing even more pressure. They've got a new defensive coordinator. Their former guy, Lou Esposito, did a really good job running that unit, and this guy's picked up right where Lou left off. They did play a lot more 3 down against Akron, and that's something that we have to make sure we're really well prepared for this week, because that's a trend that could continue. Of course, we jumped into some wishbone looking stuff, and they're playing 3 down against Akron, so maybe we can both set football back 50 years or so. We'll line up in a true wishbone this week and run the veer, and they can line up in 3 down defense and slant and angle, and that'll be a lot of fun. It'll be like going back to where we all started. But good players on their defense. Their defensive line jumps out. Number 11, Thompson, is a powerful, disruptive guy on the D-line. 93, Walker, defensive end, very long, moves well. He also blocked a field goal earlier this year. Cone, the corner, very high-end player for our league, probably an all-conference type guy. Number 3, the safety, Halleck, and 15 linebacker Willis. Those guys are having nice seasons as well. It's a veteran defense. Most of these guys have been around 3, 4, 5 years. So they're going to present some challenges for us. And again, they've gone up against 2 of the more explosive offenses in the league, which have been challenging, but they've come out of it with wins against both. And then lastly, special teams wise, just very sound, They're going to have new wrinkles every week. They've got good athletes, some rugged guys on their units. Their punter might be the best one in the league. He's doing extremely well. Number 25, Milmore. He's also the holder. They've used 2 kickers so far, but they're both a combined 6 for 8 field goals this season. And then I mentioned number 3, Nixon, as a kick returner. Very, very dangerous guy. They run a middle seam return, and the ball's got the ability to bounce to the boundary or to the field off of that, so that's always a challenge. And then their punt return unit is a good mix of hold up and return. They do a nice job disguising some of their intentions, so that'll be a challenge for us this week. So big game, obviously. Excited to be back home. Looking forward to having the students back on campus and having some alums back for this game. Be my first homecoming here at UB, so I'm interested and excited to go through the week and see what types of things we have going on and how our football program might be able to enhance some of those things, especially with how we play on the field Saturday. So with that said, I'll open it up for your questions.
Pete, your running backs had the highest rushing total this season, 230 yards. Moving forward into the second half of the season, how does this group, really need to sustain and maintain its production?
Well, it's a group effort. So some of the things we did well the other day, we blocked well on the perimeter. That's your wide receivers. Sometimes that's a running back arcing out of the backfield, having to block on the perimeter. It's your tight ends. So anytime you're trying to get the ball outside, you're only as good as those perimeter blockers, whether it's a run or it's some kind of bubble screen or whatever you might be doing out there. And then, we did a nice job in the core, in the interior, controlling Toledo's defensive line. And anytime those 5 guys and that tight end can cover people up and block the movement and sustain blocks, and give those backs some cracks and creases to hit, you're going to get good results. And then I thought starting with Alj, but right on down the line through the group, I thought the guys ran hard and they were deliberate about their ball security, which is something that we harp on. And CJ ran the ball quite well. So it's a group effort. It's on defense we say 11 playing as one, and on offense it's very much the same.
Defense first half. I mean, come on. Want to talk about a job done? Promises delivered.
Yeah. No, they were ready to play, and they shut down the run game and once we got a bit of a lead, you knew Toledo was going to try to challenge us through the air, which they certainly did. And there's definitely 3 or 4 plays that we'd love to have back from a technique standpoint where we had guys in position. But yeah, very physical day up front. Like the way our D-line played against the run and how we rushed the passer. We've talked about our linebackers ad nauseum here and just how ready to play they are every week. So it was a good group effort. We did a nice job on the perimeter when they tried to get the ball outside. I think there was one run that we didn't set a great edge and got outside for an 11 or 12-yard gain. But pretty much after that, we did a nice job of turning things back to our help. And like I say, the biggest issue defensively was more just playing some deep balls in the air, some technique there. And but otherwise, it was a very, very good day.
Pete, are you at the point in the season where guys are starting to get it a little more, inevitably new players? You just mentioned defensive ends. That whole group was almost new. Are you starting to see signs of guys now know what they're expected to do and are comfortable in it? Baby steps,
but yes. And we had a good practice here today, and that was one of my comments afterwards, that I thought we took the meetings to the field well today. Our guys that do our look squads, we call it exchange squads, they're starting to figure out that it's just football and it's all about applying the same fundamentals that we're teaching them all the time in all three phases. Yeah, you might be trying to replicate something that Western Michigan's doing that's different than what we do, but the techniques that you're using, the fundamentals you're applying, that never changes. So you're never out of the woods. You never get comfortable. You've got to keep pushing. I think we're probably a little bit better, when we're a little crusty and a little angry and a little ill-tempered. We just seem to be in a better state of mind to get the job done when we're like that. I don't know where they get that from, but I think that's what we need to be. You don't ever want to get too comfortable and get complacent, because the way I look at it, big challenge this week. And really, these next 6 games, if we play our very best and play like we played last week and maybe even a little bit better, we'll have a chance to win. And we also know, and we don't want to ever forget that we know what it looks like when we don't play well and don't play hard and don't play with high-end effort and don't execute at a high level. So baby steps, and you're never out of the woods.
Pete, Western Michigan, the short-term, goal right now. But again, you said you're heading into the heart of the season. 6 games left. You're at the halfway point. First, what are strengths you can build on where you're seeing progress with this team? You said this team's a work in progress, but what are the areas for improvement as well? Yeah.
So I think the best thing about this team, and this has really been the case, going back to last winter, spring, summer, preseason, has been our morale. We have good people, and they enjoy being around each other. They enjoy practicing. They enjoy being around their coaches, and they're hungry to learn and to try to get better. So anytime you're working with a group like that, it's fun to come to work every day. And there's always challenges and frustrations and setbacks and injuries and all kinds of different things happen. But when you've got good people, good morale, guys doing things for the right reasons, guys that love football, you've always got a chance, and that's been, I think, this team's strong suit and the most consistent thing about them. We knew coming in that our defense was going to have to carry some weight for us and play well for us back to the start of the season, and they pretty much have done that. And I would expect that they'll continue to pull their weight. We need them to. And I think we're slowly but surely starting to get a little bit better offensively on special teams. And some things aren't going to get fixed overnight. It's not like flipping a light switch. These are all things that take time. But our guys' hearts are in the right spot and their minds are in the right spot. And I think they're approaching these weeks the right way, just taking things one day at a time and understanding that we're playing a good team this week, very good team, and that's going to be the case here for the next 6 weeks.
Speaking of special teams, how much of an unsung hero has Ethan Dwayne been for your team this year?
Had his best game for sure against Toledo, and we didn't make a big deal out of this, but he did have a foot injury earlier in the season that I think hampered him a little bit. But one of the best things we're doing right now is we're operating efficiently. When you turn on the tape and you see a punter back there and he's taking 2.1, 2.15 between that snap to get that ball off, I start to get my blood starts to flow a little bit, and the creative side starts to pick up a little bit about how we might have a chance to get there. But when you turn on the film and that operation is in that 1.9 range, or maybe sometimes even a little bit better, and you're moving that launch point around, sometimes it's you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and, pull a French army and just say, you know what, it's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be worth it. We surrender, so, and just try to hold up and get the ball back. So Ethan's been operating very well in that regard and speeding up his op times, but sometimes you speed up your op time and it's at the expense of hitting good balls. He was able to do both the other day.
Pete, speaking of injuries, you'd had Savion Brown, Charles McArthurins, and Toby Stewart. Didn't know their status after the game.
Sure.
Will they be available this weekend?
Sure. Let me update you one at a time. The one guy you didn't mention that we played without the other day was Tajee Johnson.
Gonna get to him too.
Okay, good. Well, see, I can't get anything by you, but I figured let me be proactive and share that. So we played without Taj, and he'll be back this week. He practiced today. He'll be fine. Kobe's fine. Charles is fine. Savion, we are evaluating this week, and we should have more information on him towards the end of the week. He played extremely well. There was a wild fourth down that they converted late in the game, and he just kind of got his foot stuck in the ground. So he did not practice today, but we'll see where he's at later this week, and we'll update you guys on that.
The MAC always tends to provide us oddities, and never seen that before on a weekly basis. Western Michigan's coming off a game that took 8 hours for them to play. Have you seen anything like that before? Do you think there is any carryover from something like that?
Yeah, I'm sure they woke up Sunday morning and said that was a long day, but they found a way to persevere and win it, which I give them a lot of credit for. And you talk to your team all the time, every coach does, about things you can control and things you can't control, and handling adversity and not blinking when something out of the ordinary happens. And there's a team that dealt with it on an extreme scale and managed to come out of it well. I think it certainly helps to be at home, because you're in familiar settings, and typically home locker rooms tend to be a little bit better than visiting locker rooms. They probably were able to spread out a little bit more and maybe even go into their players' lounge, and you know where to bring in sandwiches from, and you got to change your clothes and all that stuff. So I'm sure it was a little bit more tolerable being at home than if they were on the road, but still a long day. Yes, I've dealt with a few lightning delays in my time, but those were typically in the 45-minute to an hour and a half range, and for something to perpetuate that long, that was quite a storm, obviously. But again, credit to them and their coaches and their maturity as a team that they were able to come out of it with a W.